Yo, what's up, world? Welcome back to the channel. APW Sports signing in, and welcome back to another Power Rankers. Week 9 is concluded. We're heading into week 10, and it's time to give each team a grade following week 9 of the NFL season. The halfway point is over. We're in the second half of the year, and at this point, we really know who teams are. But before I get into that, make sure you guys leave this video a like, as it always and continues to help this channel to grow. And if you are not subbed, go ahead and click the subscribe button and notification bell so you will not miss any of the videos that I post. But let's rank these teams. Without further ado, let's dive into it. Okay, we have the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to put the Cardinals at a C. At this point, they are the most inconsistent team that we have in football. And Kyler Murray is the engine of that inconsistency. This is just my opinion. You guys thoughts in the comments, but is Cliff Kingsbury coaching for his job right now? I personally believe so, because this Cardinals team should be better. Even though before the season I predicted that this team could be in trouble, at least in my opinion, I just don't believe that Cliff Kingsbury is the guy for this team going forward. But that's just me. Next is the Atlanta Falcons. They are coming off of a close game to the Chargers. I'm still going to put the Falcons. They are at a B for me, mainly because they've overperformed. We didn't think this Falcons team would even be at 4-5 right now, and we didn't think this Falcons team probably would win 4 games all season long. And they were in a competitive game with a Chargers team who was better than them. Let's be honest. So this Falcons team is going to be at a B. The Ravens is next. They are at an A. I think they're really starting to click things together. The addition of Roquan Smith has just paid off. Lamar Jackson is playing a lot better football. Defensively, they looked a lot better. I just think that this football team is starting to click and they're starting to get things together. At this point, this Ravens team, I believe, is going to be a threat in that AFC. Next is the Buffalo Bills. Despite the loss to the New York Jets, I still have them as one of the best teams that we have in football. They didn't look too good against the Jets. Josh Allen looked human. Defensively, the Jets ran the ball pretty good on them. All the teams that are good or great are going to have some type of a game or some type of a game like that. So I'm not going to say that this Bills team is terrible or the Bills aren't good. Or I still believe they're one of the best teams in football. Josh Allen, I think, is still an MVP candidate despite this bad game. So I'm going to put the Bills in an S. Next is the Carolina Panthers. D. They're D for doomed. They are all over the place. The quarterback position, PJ Walker struggled. Baker Mayfield didn't do too great coming in. And defensively, they just let the Cincinnati Bengals just have their way with them. Joe Mixon had an spectacular day on it. Next is my Chicago Bears. This is a tough team to grade because on one hand they lost, but on the other hand, we see who Justin Fields really is, and he is the real deal. For that defensive sake, I'm just going to have to put the Bears at a C. Defensively, they look bad. Even when Roquan Smith is in the lineup against the Cowboys, didn't look too great. The last 2 weeks have been bad. Offensively, they're really starting to click. They're really starting to get things together, and Justin Fields is really starting to come into his own, like I predicted. Overall, I just don't trust this Bears defense at all, and the offense is improving, but you can't score but only so many points to catch up with your defense being so bad. Next is the Bengals. I'm going to put them at a B. They finally realized that Joe Mixon exists, and he had an explosive game against Carolina, and Bengals have been struggling to run the football all year, and they finally realized that there are other weapons besides Joe Burrow throwing the football. They ran the ball well against, albeit a Carolina team who's bad. They finally realized that Joe Mixon exists, that defense is still creating havoc and still creating turnovers. So I'm going to put the Bengals at a B. Next is the Cleveland Browns. They had a bye week. I'm going to put them in a B as well. Even though we didn't see them last week, I just still believe defensively they have some holes. Offensively, they have some holes to correct. They're not a bad football team. It's just they haven't been consistent all season. Next is the Dallas Cowboys, also coming off of a bye week. I put them at an A. The last time we see them was against the Chicago Bears, and we all know how offensively they looked against the Bears. Defensively, they had their moments. They were able to create some turnovers against this Bears offense when we last seen them on the field, and I still believe they're one of the better teams in the NFC. Next is the Denver Broncos, also coming off of a bye week. D. The expectations for this Broncos team were high, in my opinion, and they haven't lived up to any of it. They just haven't been a good football team. Next is the Detroit Lions. I'm still gonna put them at a D, despite the fact that they beat the Packers and they made Aaron Rodgers look dumb. And speaking of Aaron Rodgers, I put them at a C because this team just looks bad. 5 consecutive losses. Who would have ever saw that coming with the Green Bay Packers coming into the? I know for me personally, it's fun to watch as a Bears fan. It's fun to watch them crumble. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It is so fun to watch the Green Bay Packers crumble. Just to be an honest standpoint, who would have saw this team like this? I know the Presidents not having Devontae Adams hurt, but never like this. For them to be 3-6 right now? Houston Texans, D. I mean, this team is just not talented. Let's just be honest. It's not a very talented football team. They are well coached. Lovie Smith coaches them well. They just don't have a lot of talent. I'm going to put the Indianapolis Colts at a D too. That quarterback situation can't get right. They just fired the offensive coordinator and just fired Frank Wright. I don't know what to make of the hiring of the interim coach Jeff Saturday. I don't know what to make of this team. This team is in turmoil. This team is in absolute turmoil. I'm going to have to put them in a D. Next is Jacksonville coming off a win against the Raiders. I'm going to put the Jaguars at a C. I've always believed that this Jaguars football team, they're I think a year or so, maybe a year away from being a competitive team. Just to be honest with you guys, defensively they've had their woes, but you can see something there. Offensively, they had their ups and downs, but I think once they start to gel, once they start to learn how to win some of those close games, I think this Jaguars team will be somewhere. But just for right now, I'm going to put them at a C. Next is the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, this team, they won a football game a very different way against the Tennessee Titans. And for most of that game, Tennessee had this Chiefs team playing their way. But the Chiefs still found a way to come back from behind and beat a Tennessee Titans team who, I'm not going to say is on the rise like that, but they were getting to that point where they were starting to find a little bit of rhythm. And defensively, I thought that would be their struggle. I was completely wrong. And that offense is still clicking with Mahomes. So I'm going to put the Chiefs at an S. Next is the Chargers coming off of a much-needed win against the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to put them at a B, even though I still think they should be better. But a lot has to do with their injuries that they have. I think once the Chargers start to find some rhythm, especially on defense, I think this team will be a legit threat. I'm not going to say Super Bowl threat anymore, but I think they will be a threat in the AFC. Next is the Rams. This team is just, outside of Cooper Kupp, they don't have much on at the wide receiver position. Higbee has struggled. Allen Robinson has been so-so. The running game has not been great. Defensively, they've had the ups and downs, and they blew it in the last 40 seconds of the game against the Buccaneers. It's just this football team has been inconsistent all season long. I was one that personally saw a little bit of it coming. I'm going to be 100% honest. I saw a little bit of this coming, but this team is just all over the place. The Raiders, I'm going to put them at a D as well. This team is just... offensively, they are just so oof. The hiring of Josh McDaniels is a mistake. I personally may think so. I personally think the hiring of Josh McDaniels could have been a mistake. I just personally think that defensively, their roles is at the secondary. Offensively, they just cannot keep any consistency. So I'm going to put the Raiders at a D. Next is the Miami Dolphins. With Tua and Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, the things that they've done on offense, I'm putting this team at an A, even though defensively, they let Justin Fields run all over him. I think they'll start to get it together once Bradley Chubb gets more acclimated into this defense, and once they start to get ways to use him and they start to play a little bit better, get a little bit healthier. But offensively, this team is scary. The speed is dangerous, and I personally saw it firsthand. I'm going to put the Dolphins at an A, especially with the way Tua's playing football right now. I'm going to put them in an A. Next is the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to put them at an S. It's just Kirk Cousins has been playing top level football all year, and nobody would have expected this Vikings team to be at 7-1, and nobody is talking about them. There are a lot of people that are not talking about the Minnesota Vikings and how good this football team has been this season. They had one slip-up game against the Philadelphia Eagles, and I want to say week 3, but this football team is a very good football team. Next is the New England Patriots. I'm putting them at a B. This team is inconsistent as well. They'll have a good game one week, bad game next week, and that's really hard to say or really strange to say from a Bill Belichick coach team, but his team has been so-so. Next is the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to drop the Saints to a C. I don't think Andy Dalton is it. Maybe not Jameis Winston either. The quarterback play hasn't been so great. Defensively, they've done with some injuries, even though offense as well, they've had some injuries. Ingram, Michael Thomas is out. Marshawn Lattimore is out. They've dealt with some injuries. It's just this football team has been wildly inconsistent all season. The Giants coming off of a bye week, I'm going to put them at a B. I still believe that we need to see more from Daniel Jones. Saquon Barkley has been an absolute stud. Defensively, they have been keeping this Giants team in ball game. So I'm going to put the Giants at a B. The Jets, I'm going to put the Jets at a B. Coming off of a big win against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. That defense is for real. The Jets defense is for real. There's still a lot of questions to be answered with Zach Wilson, but defensively, this team is for real. Sauce Gardner, already in his rookie year, is playing shut down corner level football. This defense is for real. Quentin Williams up front as well. This defense is for real. And Robert Saleh is, I think, one of the brightest defensive minds. Next is the Philadelphia Eagles, the lone undefeated team of football. Put them at an S. Even though it was a closer than expected game against the Houston Texans, I put them at the S tier. And shout out to my guy, Alcabir, the analyst. He's an Eagles content creator. I will leave his link in the description below. Really good dude. Next is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to drop them to a C. They are coming off of a bye week as well, but this team defensively has just been underperforming, even though TJ Watt has been out most of the year. Offensively, Kenny Pickett is giving picks, throwing interceptions like crazy. Offensively, the running game just cannot get together. Najee Harris has not looked like himself, so I'm going to put them in a C. Seattle, I'm struggling between A and B, but I'm going to put them at a B for the moment. Seattle is better than what we all expected coming into this season. Geno Smith is playing way better football than we expected. Defensively, they've even been creating turnovers and looking good. The running game with Kenneth Walker has been great. So this Seahawks team, we're supposed to be one of the bottom teams, but they're sitting at 6-3 right now, and who would have said that? I'm going to put them at a B. Next is the San Francisco 49ers. Shout out to my guy Jay in the Bay. I'm going to put them at a B. They're also coming off of a bye week, so we didn't get to see them last week. But I still believe that this football team is a very solid football team. Defensively is where they're hanging their hats on. The running game with Christian McCaffrey and things he did in their pass game against the Rams, this team could be scary. That's all I'm going to say. They could be scary. Next is the Buccaneers. Despite the late win, for most of that game, they couldn't do anything on offense. They couldn't do anything. It was a defensive struggle. Outside of the last 40 seconds, they were not moving the ball very well. This team can't run the ball at all, and this is a shell of what a Tom Brady team would look like. And defensively, they've been dealing with a lot of injuries. Offensively, they just cannot get it together. They cannot be consistent, in the running game is bad. So I'm going to still, despite the win against the Rams, I'm going to put them at a C. Next is the Tennessee Titans. I think if Ryan Tannehill is in that ball game, they might have basically pulled that game out against Kansas City. Malik Willis is just not ready yet. I was worried coming to this draft that none of the quarterbacks that were going into this draft were NFL ready or starter ready yet. And it's proven with the play of Pickett. It's been proven with the play of Malik Willis. They're not ready. Malik Willis is just not ready yet. And last but not least, we have the Washington Commanders. I'm going to put them at a B. I still believe that Taylor Heineke is the guy for this Washington Commanders football team. Defensively, they looked better against Minnesota. They had some points where they had the offense for the Vikings struggling. Offensively, they could do a little bit more. I personally believe in a running game, and I just think that they need to stick with Taylor Heineke at this point. No matter how long Carson Wentz is out, Taylor Heineke is the guy. But these are my rankings for the week. Leave you guys' thoughts in the comments down below. I know I'm going to get some criticism, as I always do, but I welcome it. Leave this video a like, as it always continues to help this channel to grow. And if you have gotten to this point and you are not sub, go ahead and click the subscribe button and notification bell so you will not miss any of the videos that I post. APW Sports signing out. Make sure you guys stay safe. Have a great next day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.